So, just like a lot of you, I love RPGs, and one of my most anticipated games for this generation is Obsidian's next big RPG, Avowed. It's a game that gives off major Skyrim vibes, and I love that because Skyrim is a top 3 game of all time for me. And to see Obsidian give what will essentially be their take on one of the greatest RPGs ever made, it's just exciting. But today we've got all sorts of new details on what we can expect from Avowed, so enough of this intro, let's get right into the video. And first up, I want to give a shout out to the illustrious Jez Corden of Windows Central, as these new Avowed leaks come directly from Jez himself. Also, I just saw on Twitter today that it is his birthday, so I'm not sure if I'll have this video out by the end of the day today, but either way, go wish the man a happy birthday over on Twitter, and be sure to support Windows Central and all their endeavors, whether it's their articles or their YouTube channel. Now let's talk about some Avowed, because as we all probably know by now, it's set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, and if we remember from that initial reveal, the trailer seems to display what is a very dark and dreary world in which this game takes place. I mean, it's a lot of stone architecture, a lot of dark grass covering low valleys with dim skies and towering mountains, and all of that serves to make what I am about to say a lot more interesting. Well, at least to me. Because according to the article, it seems like Avowed is set to be a much more quote-unquote colorful game in comparison to the likes of Skyrim and Oblivion. And it goes on to say that it's much more reminiscent of the Outer Worlds than it is any of the Elder Scrolls games, just in terms of its colorful setting. We'll be seeing luminescent cave mushrooms, gigantic flora among the forests, and all sorts of sunlit areas, and all of this has me a bit excited. I'd be absolutely ecstatic to play a colorful fantasy western RPG. But we've also got some information hinting that Avowed seems to be based on an enhanced engine from the Outer Worlds. And I'm not going to lie to you, but my initial reaction when reading this was that of hesitance and shock, I guess are the right words. But once I sat back and thought about it, Outer Worlds was a really well put together game. And that engine allowed Obsidian to punch well above their weight in terms of their smaller AA budget. I mean, there are plenty of AAA RPGs that don't even come close to the level of polish and detail that the Outer Worlds was able to offer, and a big reason that stuff was possible is because of their work on the Unreal Engine 4. The game is set to feature things you might have come to expect from a first-person fantasy RPG. You've got your first-person action-oriented combat that, according to the article, borrows quite a bit from Skyrim's two-handed combat system. All the way from dual-wielding daggers, or using a two-handed bow, or swords, or you could even dual-wield magic. I know for me personally, I like to dual-wield magic when I play Skyrim, and every now and then I like to get stealthy and pick off enemies from a distance with the bow. So I'm really excited to see how all that plays out in Avowed, because just from that one spell cast that was in the trailer, the animations for these spells look really damn cool. And as you might expect, since the game is set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, you can expect to see various spells from prior games in this new action RPG. And yet another thing that has me very excited is weapon enchantments will play a part in this game. I know I just said that I mainly dual-wield magic in Skyrim, but when I am reaching for a melee weapon, it is always enchanted. Typically with something like a fire enchantment or a shock enchantment. Or my personal favorite enchantment, the Soul Trap, which is probably one of the most useful enchantments in all of Skyrim. But enough about Skyrim. I just think that it's awesome to see so many of the features that I loved from Skyrim showing up in Obsidian's next big fantasy RPG. And I think the thing that has me the most excited from reading this wonderful article is the fact that it also suggests that the game will feature destructible environments. As the article states, quote, "We've even heard of destructible environments, using lit torches and fire spells to burn down blocked entryways." Now this is something that just sounds badass to me. I mean, imagine all the spells that you'll learn throughout a playthrough of this game, and imagine how those spells could dynamically interact with the world as you progress through it. I mean, the fire spells burning down blocked entryways is just one example of what I'm hoping is many. Think of shooting a shock spell into a body of water to kill enemies walking through it. Or think of an expansion on the idea of how a spell like telekinesis interacts with the world in Skyrim. Or imagine setting fire to a section of a forest covered in enemies and sitting back as the blaze runs through all the grass and leaves and takes them out. There's really a lot of opportunities for dynamic interactions within the world, and I'm hoping that Obsidian really gets creative with ideas like that. And then the last thing I wanted to cover is that the game is nearing a playable alpha state. And this sort of backs up my theory on how I think we'll likely be seeing this game in 2023. In fact, I'd say probably mid to late 2023. And you know, if that's the case, then I'm a patient guy. I have no problem waiting for an Obsidian game, especially when their game is backed financially by Microsoft. And the final point I'd like to make is that when you think about it, starting with Starfield in 2022, we'll likely be getting a big RPG every year for what could very easily be the next 5 years. Think about Starfield in 2022, Avowed in 2023, Fable in 2024, possibly In Exile's next RPG in 2025 or maybe even 2024. And then Elder Scrolls in 2025 to 2026. And I almost forgot to mention, what about Outer Worlds 2? Probably sometime 2025, maybe 2026. Year after year is going to be a dream come true for me and my fellow RPG fans. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on this new information for Avowed, and how excited are you for the game in general? Leave a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. Leave a like if you liked the video, and please remember to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell if you're enjoying the content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.